Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty end in the green for the third straight week despite minor cuts on Friday. Equity mutual fund inflows dropped to a 6-month low, even as SIP inflows hit a record high in the month of May. Retail investors are back on the Lal Street, reversed the selling trend and buy stocks worth $2.3 billion in Q4. Domestic institutional investors now own more than 15% of Indian equities, which is again at a record high. Crude oil prices drop after China's producer prices plunged to a 7-year low as fears of deflation hang over the economy. China's consumer price index rose by a mere 0.2% in the month of May. Shares of Indian Energy Exchange continue to plunge on fears of coupling for power exchanges in the country. Rival exchange HPX says the move will ensure uniform pricing across exchanges and end the monopoly of IEX. But the CEO of IEX says the concept of coupling is being misread. Officials from RBI, the finance ministry and industry bodies like NASSCOM deposed before a parliamentary committee on the rise in cyber fraud, highlight inadequate law enforcement, overuse of one-time passwords and the lack of capacity as some of the challenges in providing cyber security. The CNBC-TV18 cybercrime tracker continues. Sam Altman, the creator of Chat GPT, meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss the future of artificial intelligence. The Prime Minister says the potential of AI is vast and India will become welcome of any kind of collaboration. Baiju's lenders hit back after the company filed a lawsuit against them in the US and elected not to make any payments. A group of term loan lenders say the lawsuit is meritless and an effort to avoid obligations, accuse the company of intentionally defaulting on loans. The Enforcement Directorate arrests Roop Kumar Bansal, the promoter of real estate firm M3M Group. In a money laundering case, ED alleges M3M received 400 crore rupees from another builder, IREO Group, through shell companies. Both firms have been accused of diverting and misappropriating investor and customer funds. Donald Trump becomes the first former president in U.S. history to face federal indictment. Is charged with 7 counts, including conspiracy to obstruct, unauthorized retention of national security documents, and false statements. Trump says he is innocent, adds he will surrender before the authorities this Tuesday. US President Biden, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak agree on a new partnership to boost economic security in the face of threats from Russia and China. The Atlantic Declaration includes commitments of easing trade barriers, closer defense ties, and cooperation on artificial intelligence. The agreement, however, falls short of a free trade deal. Well, let's start with the market action. The Sensex and the Nifty gained for the third straight week. Despite marginal cuts on Friday, the Sensex was down 200 points after a range-bound session. But for the week, all major indices gained about 0.5%. Prashant is standing by to wrap up the market action for us. Prashant, not just this week, but what about the momentum for the bulls coming for the coming week?
Well, the pullback that started on Thursday continued into Friday, the last day of the week as well. The Nifty ending down about 70 points. I mean, not at the day's low, but close to it. The Bank Nifty ending flat, bit better than the Nifty. Mid-caps and small caps came under some selling pressure as well. But nothing dramatic, mind you. This has been a little bit of profit-taking after what has been an absolutely feverish rally over the last many weeks or so. So the Nifty losses coming through in names like Hero MotoCorp. Insurance companies lost, and in the Nifty, HDFC Life was prominently lower. iShares, Tata Steel, and Divi's Laboratories were some of the other names which came under selling pressure. The broader markets, right, and market breadth, of course, was negative by close. I mean, actually not hugely negative, but more losers than gainers. So we'll start with what lost. You had IEX, which now in 2 days has given up 20% gains. CMS Info, there was a large 14% block deal. It was down sharply, 6%. Voltas, names like SRF came under selling pressure. ICICI Pru Life, I mentioned insurers earlier. Deepak Nitrite, HDFC AMC, and ICICI Lombard were some of the others. They were gainers as well, and this has been a constant theme. Volumes are on the side of gainers, not losers. So HAL went up. Paytm is doing very well. India Cements, Sula Vineyards, HBL Power 26% for the week now, including today's 8% gain. Greenlam, Bajaj Hindustan, Genus Power, Iron Exchange, and many more coming through. The supports for the Nifty, if you focus on the Nifty index, are about 150 odd points away, around where the 20-day moving average is, and that's the big reversal level. I think next week, global markets perhaps will become a little more important because you've got the important FOMC decision. But before that, we also get core inflation numbers out of the US, which will set the tone in more ways than one for global markets from here. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. That is the equity market action. And staying with the markets, retail investors are back on the last street. According to a JP Morgan report, retail investors have reversed the selling trend in Q4 and have bought stocks worth $2.3 billion. A lion's share of these investments have been made in large-cap companies. Adani Group, Reliance, SBI and Ambuja Cement have been the top additions by retail investors in Q4. The top reductions include shares like HDFC Bank, Tata Motors, ITC, TCS and Tech Mahindra. And it's not just retail investors. Domestic institutional investors are also driving demand. DIIs now own more than 15% of Indian equities, and this is a record high. You can catch more on these interesting trends on our Friday favorite, the Editors Roundtable, that's coming up for you at 4:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. And we're not done with market-related data. Mutual fund data for the month of May throwing up a mixed picture. While inflows into equity mutual funds dropped to nearly 3,000 crore rupees, that is the lowest level in 6 months. Despite the fall, inflows have remained in the green for the last 27 months. Inflows through systematic investment plans or SIPs hitting a record high of nearly 14,800 crore rupees. In China, crude oil prices have fallen after China's producer prices plunging to a 7-year low in May. This, coupled with the latest consumer price index data, has sparked fears of a deflation. Inflation in May accelerated by a mere 0.2%. Mining and raw material industries led a decline in the producer's price index, indicating a potential slowdown in demand. Back home, the big story: shares of Indian Energy Exchange continue to plunge on fears, and I quote, of coupling for power exchanges in the country. Now, the Power Ministry has directed that the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission initiate market coupling process of multiple electricity exchanges. Since then, IEX shares have been falling in trade. Now, speaking to CNBC-TV18, rival exchange HPX says the move will ensure uniform pricing across exchanges and end the monopoly of IEX. But the CEO of IEX says the concept of coupling is being misread. Take a look.
I don't understand this market coupling, what we are now talking about, that different exchanges will be coupled through this. This will be something like, couple maybe BSE and NSE or couple Ola and Uber. So that don't make a real business case. I mean, it will kill basically innovation and competition in the sector. So I don't think the interpretation of the market coupling, which is now floating from the last one day, is the right interpretation.
Okay, so coupling becomes important if other exchanges have to get a market share in that. So this is true for all collective segments. So our market share was 0 last year. We started operations in July 2022, and therefore all the volume that we have gained is from the existing exchanges. Okay, so from that perspective, the number that you see falling for IEX, there is some contribution that we have made.
Well, that could be a regulatory change that potentially impacts IEX, and which is why we're seeing the stock take a beating. Now, Baiju's lenders have responded to the lawsuit that the EdTech company filed earlier this week in New York, seeking the disqualification of Redwood Capital. The group of term loan lenders who own 85% of the $1.2 billion loan have termed the lawsuit meritless and a tactic to avoid repayment. The lender group has also warned that it will enforce the credit agreement if the company remains in default intentionally. Now, the government will roll out the 20% TCS charge on credit card spends outside India from the 15th of July. From the 1st of July, the Direct Tax Department has confirmed at a CII event. The previous date was July 1st. The Joint Secretary of the Revenue Department, Raman Chopra, said the government will soon issue a clarification on the TCS issue as detailed discussions have been held between the Finance Minister and the Finance Ministry. Just 2 days ago, in an exclusive conversation with CNBC-TV18, Chief Economic Advisor Anantha Nageshwaran had said the government acknowledged the concerns over the TCS and was looking to review the same. And speaking of the CA Anantha Nageshwaran, he spoke at an event in Lucknow today and said that universal social security may not be necessary for a growing economy like India. He believes that support must be confined to those unable to participate in the economy.
Universal social security as a concept for a growing economy may not be necessary, because the natural growth rate of the economy should provide opportunities for employment and income generation. So the support should be confined to those who are unable to participate in the economic activity. Universal social security for India is something that should be on the agenda in the near term.
Well, that is the Chief Economic Advisor. Quick check of some of the other headlines. The Committee of Creditors of cash-strapped Go First scheduled to hold its first meeting today. Sources have told us that the airline has sought 200 crore rupees of interim financing from lenders. The lenders are also likely to recommend the appointment of a new resolution professional for the airline. Go First lost its advantage SpiceJet. Low-cost carrier SpiceJet is buckling up to cater to growing passenger demand. The airline will induct 10 Boeing 737 aircraft beginning September. The company is looking at restoring and reviving its grounded aircraft as well. Air India and Indigo have been elected to the International Air Transport Association Board of Governors. Indigo's CEO, Chief Peter Elbers, will serve as the chair from June 24. At present, IATA's board of governors comprises 31 airlines. India is one of the largest aviation markets and now has a representation at an important global aviation forum. The Enforcement Directorate has arrested Roop Bansal, the promoter of real estate firm M3M, for alleged money laundering. The arrest follows search operations conducted at 7 locations in Delhi and Gurugram linked to the M3M and IREO group. Abhimanyu joins us now with more. Abhimanyu, take us through what the ED believes it has on Bansal.
Roop Kumar Bansal, the promoter of the Gurgaon-based M3M group, has been arrested in a money laundering case where the M3M group and the IREO group have been accused of diverting and misappropriating funds of investors and customers, claiming that the M3M group received over rupees 400 crores from IREO group through shell companies. In multiple layers, ED has stated that the M3M group's promoters had deliberately evaded questions during the raids which were conducted on 1st of June. ED had raided 7 locations in Delhi NCR belonging to IREO group and the M3M group and had confiscated 17 high-end vehicles, including a Ferrari, Lamborghini and Bentley, valued at 60 crore rupees, as well as gold worth 5.75 crore rupees.
Many thanks. In international headlines, Russian forces attacked the flood-hit city of Kherson just hours after Ukrainian President Zelensky visited the region. Zelensky went to the city to take stock of the situation post the destruction of the dam. As per Ukraine's Interior Ministry, at least 9 people were injured in the shelling near an evacuation point. US President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak have agreed on a new partnership to boost economic security in the face of threats from Russia and China. The Atlantic Declaration will include commitments on easing trade barriers, closer defense ties and cooperation on artificial intelligence. The agreement, however, falls short of a full free trade deal. Donald Trump has become the first former president in US history to face federal indictment. He's been counts, including conspiracy to obstruct, unauthorized retention of national security documents and false statements. He's innocent and that he will surrender before the authorities this Tuesday. Alice Barr has more.
Originally in Washington, D.C., but appears to have shifted to Florida, where more than 100 classified documents were discovered at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate last year. Also under scrutiny whether the former president obstructed the federal government's efforts to get the materials back. It's just one of several legal cases surrounding the former president, who's already been indicted on state charges of falsifying business records in New York. The indictment landing just as the 2024 Republican presidential primary is ramping up, with the former president the clear frontrunner, raising the stakes on a politically explosive prosecution. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, trouble for Donald Trump. Time for us to head into a short break, but up next, Sam Altman, the creator of Chat GPT, meets Prime Minister Modi. The Parliamentary Committee on Finance has taken note of rising cases of cyber frauds in the country. It's called officials from the RBI, the Finance Ministry and the National Payments Corp and NASSCOM to understand the complexity of digital fraud and what can be done as a remedial measure. A report recommending steps to check cybercrime cases is likely to be presented in the monsoon session of Parliament. What are the challenges that have been listed out by industry before the Parliamentary Committee on the CNBC-TV18 Cybercrime Tracker? Parikshit Luthra joins us now with more details. Parikshit.
Well, industry bodies have told the parliamentary panel that a high volume and high velocity of digitization is increasing the likelihood of security breaches. The industry also pointed out that overuse of OTPs has led to an increase in phishing scams. The user becomes liable for providing OTPs. He's the one who's vulnerable. And on the other hand, financial institutions remain immune. The loopholes exist due to gaps in collaboration between transaction processing institutions and telecom service providers. Industry bodies have said that law enforcement response is not adequate due to unavailability of infrastructure. The criminal justice system is challenged in the cyber market due to lack of understanding of technology crimes, issues related to evidence collection, examination, analysis and presentation, non-uniformity in procedures, differences in capabilities across jurisdictions, and victims often struggle to get quick support, and the victim support system is weak in the country. The cybercrime justice infrastructure also suffers from lack of capacity, talent recruitment and retention as well.
All right, Parikshit, appreciate you joining us. That is the latest on the CNBC-TV18 cybercrime tracker. Now, Sam Altman, the Chat GPT creator and the CEO of OpenAI, met Prime Minister Modi in Delhi. Both are believed to have discussed the country's tech ecosystem and the future of artificial intelligence. The Prime Minister later tweeted that the potential of AI in enhancing India's tech ecosystem is vast. He wrote that he welcomed all collaboration for digital transformation. Ashmit standing by with more. Ashmit, Sam Altman, of course, meeting many government officials, including the Minister and the Prime Minister. Take us through what has been discussed.
Well, Sam Altman UAE, Qatar, as well as South Korea, which in turn comes on the back of a similar European tour that he'd undertaken. This visit by Sam Altman to various countries comes at a time when various large economies are contemplating important pieces of legislation for regulating big tech. So that's the Digital India Act, data protection, as regulation here in the country. And it is in this context that Sam Altman, while speaking on various issues, reflected, in fact, at one point likening it to nuclear power, saying that there's a need for a global regulator, much like the IAEA regulates. He rebatted for regulation, but the substance of that regulation, the scope of that regulation has seen. Met with the Prime Minister. They discussed what the application and the deployment of AI could look like in the tech ecosystem. Even speaking earlier today, the Minister of State, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, said that Sam Altman's visit to India reflects the potential that India has, and also went on to say that there is a need for regulating AI from the perspective of user harm, of minimizing user harm. But what's equally interesting is that Sam Altman's visit comes at a time when major titans from the tech industry have visited India. So whether that's Sundar Pichai in December of last year, Satya Nadella in January of this year, Tim Cook in April, and now Sam Altman coming here to Indian shores to discuss regulation, to discuss big tech. Many are now saying that perhaps it's time now for Elon Musk to knock on Indian doors.
Okay, we will have to wait to see. Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Online pharmacy PharmEasy under the radar after a Twitter user claimed that the company's pharmacist recommended a herbal product along with his existing order. In a now deleted tweet, PharmEasy justified the move, calling it an act of goodwill. Shruti joins us now with the details. Shruti, the last few months have been difficult for the e-pharmacy space. What's this issue about?
Absolutely, Shireen, it has been. And, Twitter has been abuzz after Abhijit Majumdar, an IIT Bombay professor, put out his experience with PharmEasy. According to Majumdar, after placing an order, he got a call from a PharmEasy pharmacist who recommended herbal supplements along with his order of sugar medicines. Now, remember, it is illegal to recommend medicines in India unless you're a legal medical practitioner. In fact, the Union Health Ministry in India recently said it is considering regulations and strict actions against e-pharmacies due to concerns over data privacy and malpractices. The central government is looking to regulate, restrict or prohibit the sale or distribution of any drug by online mode. Now, in response to Majumdar's tweet, PharmEasy defended the action, calling it an act of goodwill. And I quote from a tweet that has now been deleted. As per PharmEasy policy, we are required to follow the process of confirming the order. The team of pharmacists will always suggest to the customers a medicine or a product depending on your medical history. Kindly note that the this is done in goodwill and you can always refuse the suggestion, end of quote. Now, when CNBC-TV18 reached out to the company, they refused to comment. However, a source in the company told us that it is a normal practice to suggest over-the-counter products like aloe vera juice, Chyawanprash, herbal immunity-building products, diapers akin to how a gym trainer or a family member would recommend someone, adding that medicines are not. However, the company's reply to the tweet clearly said that it recommends medicines and products. Back to you.
All right, Shruti, many thanks for joining us. And before we wrap, after Jio Cinema broadcast this year's IPL on digital platforms for free, Disney Plus Hotstar is following suit. The OTT platform will now stream cricket tournaments in India for free. The company will stream the Asia Cup and the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup tournament at no cost, and this will be available for all users on mobile phones. The company says the decision will make cricket accessible to many mobile phone users in India. However, experts say that removing the paywall may hurt the company's revenue. Well, on that note, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. A lot more coming up.